Okay, so in this chapter we are just going to add like some extra small details to our texture and finalize it. And probably also create like a few variations. So when I look at this, the first thing I notice is that my dirt, it feels a little bit like low resolution. And it could be... no, yeah, I think that's just like a little limitation. So there's many ways that we can fix this, or we can tile it, or we can try to add a very quick sharpen over here, just to like increase that sharpness of our dirt a little bit more artificially, like this. Because we are using it on a very large texture over here, while it will work better if we tile it. But if we tile it, then of course it will look more repetitive. So we got those ones done. Now another thing that I like to do is I probably like to have like some localized dirt, which is dirt around the corners over here. And the way that you can do that is, the technique that I at least tend to use, is I use a ground dirt over here. And with the ground dirt it will ask you for position data. But the cool thing is that you can pretty much just use, let's see, I could use this one. So there's many ways that you can do it. Or you can go all the way back over here and change it. Or what you can do is you can grab your flat fill and add a flat fill to gradient. Here, so if we grab our original flat fill like this. This one requires a bit more nodes, but it keeps your textures more intact and it keeps everything more procedural. Because basically what you do is you basically create 4 flat fills. So I'm just duplicating them. Like this. 1 for each angle. So if we go here, we will have an angle of 0. Then this one we would do like 90. This one we would do like 180. And this one we would do like minus 90 over here. So that's basically we have a gradient coming from every single side. And then what you would do is you would go in and blend them together using a, I believe it is a multiply. Yeah, multiply. So you basically add like a few blends. So as you can see, here we go. So we multiply this. So it will basically give us like a gradient all the way around. And then at this point you can already just use your position if you want. But sometimes you need to add an auto levels to kind of like push it into the correct ranges. And I tend to then just like dock this. So, well, most of these I cannot dock, so I can only dock the outer levels. So as you can see, it's like a little bit more of a bigger setup. And you want to give it like a little bit more space. But now if you go to your ground dirt, you can see that you can very easily, with your levels, increase or decrease the amount of dirt you want to have around your tiles. Like this, and you can also play around with like your dirt height and everything. So you can make this more or less. So I'm gonna have like a little bit of dirt over here and not too much around the corners. I then add a simple blend, plug in the dirt and plug in my brown color over here. Now you can see that over here we can get like, if we play around with our levels a bit more, see we can get like a little bit more dirt around those extra corners. And then we can of course also translate this into our roughness by adding a blend to our roughness and giving it the same ground dirt slider over here. And let's set this to add. Here we go, just to make it look a little bit duller. So we got that one also done. That's looking fine. Let's look back. Okay, see, so we get like some of that ground dirt sitting around these corners. That's pretty good. And yeah, you can kind of like play around with it and see until you get something you really like. I do want to just, as a try, add a transform between my cobwebs and setting these to -2. Yeah, here that's quite a bit of tiling, so it will probably look... Yeah, that might not look as good on here. So instead I'm just going to leave that, because we are looking at it like super up close. So this should actually be fine. If I do this, if I scroll in, yeah, here, so the resolution should be fine. Some of this resolution can also come from our actual base. So here I like the damages, so the damages are working well. I'm going to quickly check. So it might just come from this base over here, because the base also has like a little bit of like a softness. So sometimes it is as easy as just trying to sharpen the base, because then it will also just sharpen everything else. And that's basically like a balance that we kind of like need to find. Also, what I want to do is I probably want to go ahead and I want to add some edge highlights to this that we are using for like our tiles. And if I have a look, because I probably can just reuse this stuff that I have over here. Yeah, I can pretty much do like a blur high quality grayscale from this one. No, from... Let's see. Yeah, actually, you know what? This one might actually be good. And throw this all the way over here. And then if we add a quick blend, we can, first of all, probably blend this along with like a purling noise. Can I maybe reuse the purling noise? No, that's too big. Then I will just add a new purling noise. So blending it with the purling noise using, for example, an art. And playing around with the scale, it will just reduce the amount of actual really strong reflections that we have. And if I now invert grayscale this, and you can just press D to dock the invert grayscale and set this to be subtract, I can basically give it like some edge highlights, and now it's just a matter of maybe like blurring it even more so that it just gives me like some small edge highlights. Also playing around with my purling noise over here so that I just get it in like a few, here see, into like a few different areas. I just get like these highlights so that whenever the light catches it, it will just shine a little bit more, and I think that will look quite nice. So if we have a look at that here, so you can see over here you get like some extra edge highlights. So the general roughness is pretty good. I think I just want to maybe like play around with my levels a little bit more on this one. Let's see, this one, yeah. So let's add a histogram scan. Yeah, let's do a histogram scan. And I'm just docking it, but then I can still select it and I can still change things. And just try and like play around a little bit more with like our contrast and everything to make sure that we have a little bit more variation between like the white areas and the dark areas. And maybe in our histogram range, yeah, let's set the range all the way up, but maybe let's set the position like a little bit more down so that it is even stronger, because we are adding so much extra dirt on top, it hopefully balances out a little bit. Here, see, so now you can see like a small shine coming on the entire model. So that's already starting to look quite nice. So yeah, we pretty much got those pieces done. Over here we got this, like, yes, it might look a little bit dark in here, but that can also be partly from like my ambient occlusion and everything. So I'm not too worried about that. I can also go to my free camera so that you can get like a better look. Here, see, so you can see that how the reflections work and everything. So I am quite happy with that. I think the last thing that I will do is just to be sure. Oh no, wait, I am adding a sharpness over here already. Yeah, so resolution wise we could have gotten a little bit sharper in here. I can give it a try. Let's just give it a try. Let's add a transform and set this to -2, so we are tiling it twice. But as you can see, that might be way too overwhelming. Let's go back to our camera 1. And I'm basically looking for like all of these repetitive looks. So you can see that now it looks a little bit sharper. It's not that bad, I can see, with repetitive looks. Let's see if I would tile this like 4 times. Yeah, okay, see, so it's not too bad. So what I can do is I can keep it like this. And because we are going to blend this with like other variations, that should be fine. So we got this stuff done. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup and then I will create one variation. And after that we will get started by creating our actual shader. The reason I only do one variation is because I don't yet know exactly what our shader is going to include. So let's add a frame here. Call this roughness. Let's collect all of these outputs over here. And also if you just want to very quickly organize them, you can select the outputs and press this button, which will align them on the y-axis or on the vertical line. And then we can add a frame, call this outputs. And then we can go ahead and we can grab this one, frame, and just call this base color. So if you want to go ahead and you want to, for example, add a lot more dirt and everything like that, what we can do is we can expose values mostly that's mostly what we will be doing for the first variation. We are going to expose values and then increase some stuff. So to do that, very easy. Right now, if you click on your wall tiles and you go down, not to attributes, but over here to like our parameters, you can see that we only have like our output parameters, but we can expose them just like you would use instances inside of Unreal Engine. So let's say that if we go in here, let's say that I first of all, if I go all the way to the bottom, I don't really need to expose those. I'm going to start by exposing probably this non-uniform blur. No, wait, I want to probably expose this one over here so that I can increase and decrease it. So that's the position, right? Yeah, so let's expose. So you can go to the position and to this little button. And then we are going to expose new graph input and just call this edge damage amount. Copy the identifier also into the label. The label is basically the name. You can give the description if you want, but I don't need that. And for the rest, it should be fine, so I can press OK. And now you can no longer edit it in here, but you can edit it down here. So what I can do is I can also go in here and I can say expose this, and this is going to be, for example, tile height variation. Copy it also into the label. I don't need the description, and I'm going to press OK. For this one, we can, this one, we can go ahead and expose this. Tile slope variation, copy in label, press OK. So we can now control very quickly the slope and the height. And in here we can go ahead and expose this. And we can do like small edge damage strength. Copy that into the label, press OK. So we got that one done. The dots and everything I don't need really right now. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to expose and call this dirt amount. Over here. I can go in here and I can expose probably, let's do this one. Let's see, do I need to do dirt height or dirt level? Dirt height, yeah, dirt height. Expose this, call this corner dirt amount. Okay, and then we can go into this blend. Oh no, wait, actually we don't need to do that because this blend is already 100%. So let's say the levels. Corner dirt strength. And place this in here. Now I did forget to group it, but I can do this after. So we pretty much have these pieces now over here. Let's save as scene. And now if you click on your wall tiles, what you will get is you will get all of these exposed pieces here. Now, as I said, I forgot to group them. So I just need to make a group that I will call height. And then everything that has to do with like height variation, I can set in the height group. This will make things more organized. I'll show you in a second. And then over here I can do color. And everything in the color group can go in here. Perfect, so that's now done. And now if you go into your preview, you can see that you now have like a nice height group and a color group. And you can very simply just change these sliders around to get something you want. So what I like to do is I like to go to presets and call this one clean_tiles. And these are all default presets. This is literally what we just already set when we started converting this. So you basically say clean tiles and you press new. And now you have a clean tile preset. Then what I can do is I can say dirty tiles. And these ones are like the dirty ones. And then I can later on also do like damaged, for example. And if I press new again, you now have dirty and clean tiles. You probably guess what's going on. If I now, for example, go to my normal. I can go to my presets on the clean or on the dirty tile preset. I can go in here and I can actually set the amount of damage, the amount of height and slope variation, and also the small amount of damage strength. I can like increase all of those things I can then click on my base color. And then if I scroll down to color, I can say like, okay, I want to have like more dirt amount. So I want to have them a lot dirtier. I want to have like corner dirt amount more. And I want to have like the corner dirt strength to be maybe like a little bit stronger. And if I then press update, it will now have this preset. If I go back to the clean tiles, I will immediately have my original. So you can imagine that later on we are just going to set a preset and then we are going to export it. For example, if I now set this to dirty tiles and I wait for this loading bar here and go to Marmoset, you can see that now we have our dirty tiles because they are all exported. So that's looking actually really good. I like that. Maybe like, no wait, actually the dirt amount is fine. I'm not too worried about that, about the strength of it. And now I can just go ahead and go, for example, back to clean tiles. And once I've done that, it's really hard for me to say the word tiles for some reason. But now you can see that now we have a clean variation. Perfect. So that stuff is done. Now what I tend to do, just to prepare this for Unreal Engine, is I'm going to quickly go to export outputs as bitmap. And I'm going to turn off this setting over here, automatic export. And then you do need to press export once more to save the setting. And the reason I do this is because now I can go to my dirty tiles preset. I can again go to export outputs as bitmap, but this time I can export them, tiles_dirty, to a new folder. Now they will have the same file name, but I never really have any trouble with that. If I want, I could go in here and I could set like the file different. So instead of _graph, I could do _dirty tiles, for example. But I'm not going to do that. That's not really that important. I can export over here. And then you should see that we now have clean tiles and dirty tiles ready to go. And because we have a little bit of time left, what I will do is I will go ahead and already import them into Unreal. Oh, it's on my wrong screen over here. And once that is done, we will go over to the next chapter where we will start with the planning of our shader and just make sure that everything is going the way that we want. So we can go over here, textures, wall tiles, and then in here we can go clean, and we can do dirty, and later on we can probably also do like damaged, for example. So in our clean, we can just import all of our clean tiles. Oh no, wait. Yeah, the height map. If you want to import your height map, there's one extra step that you need to do. You need to go ahead, you need to go down here, and you need to add a node that is called an RGB or an alpha merge node over here. So if you type in RGB, and then if you just convert this to a gradient map, you basically are going to merge your gradient map with your alpha. And the reason you need to do this is because Unreal Engine reads only the alpha for your height map. So once that is done, you can go ahead, and now this one is the dirty version, so I can go export and it should be on dirty, so that's fine. But it does mean that I now quickly need to export and then quickly need to go back and change my preset to clean. And then I need to set like this folder. So you kind of want to do all of this exporting when you are pretty sure that you don't need to make many more changes to your texture. So we now got all of this stuff done and it will override it. And now, here you can see that now it has like an alpha. So now I can properly go in here, clean version, clean tiles, dirty version. We'll have the dirty tiles over here. For the dirty tiles, we can sometimes also just like, for example, reuse the height map or the ambient occlusion map. It kind of depends how much difference there is. You just want to go ahead and open up your norm maps. And the reason for this is because we work in OpenGL. However, Unreal Engine is DirectX. So the only thing you need to do is you need to scroll down to, where are you? Texture over here. And then click flip green channel, because that's pretty much the only difference between the two. Else your norm map will be flipped, and that will be quite noticeable. So all of the textures are now imported. That's good. So let's go ahead and let's continue to the next chapter, where we will be going on how to create our master material or our master shader inside of Unreal Engine.